I love Zone of the Enders. By far my favorite giant robot video games and some of my favorite giant robot anime. Fun, fast-paced gameplay with varying challenges. An enjoyable Gundam-esque setup with conflict between the forces of Earth and the colonies on Mars, one fighting to stay in power, the other fighting for independence and revenge. Prejudice and war ensue, and through it all there's the mysterious extraterrestrial mineral known as Metatron, which provides mechs with great power, but also sometimes exhibits a will of its own. And of course, the Z.O.E games and anime also provide some unforgettable mecha designs. And if I must address the elephant in the room, yes, their unforgettability comes partly from the amusing part of the body where the pilot is housed. If you intend to make a cockpit joke, congratulations, you're only the trillionth person to do so. As awkward as that part of the design can be, Z.O.E's orbital frames and LEVs really are still cool, wonderfully unique-looking mechs with some awesome abilities and weapons. And so, I'm here to share with you my top 10 favorite Zone of the Enders mechs, minus any from the Fist of Mars, because that's the only game I'm not familiar with. Let us begin. Number 10. Raptor Manned Type from Z.O.E Dolores I. The Raptor is to Bahram what the Zaku is to the Principality of Zeon, except for the fact that most Raptors are controlled by AI, not pilots. This version, however, not only has a pilot, but also a darker color scheme and 4 big cannons in its chest, which I think is just what the usual Raptor's skinny, skeletal upper body needed. This version looks cooler and more balanced, and with one of the Yans piloting it, it actually seems to pose a greater threat than whole swarms of drone Raptors do in the games. Raptor Manned Type, suddenly bringing a bit more dignity to Bahram's go-to grunt mech. Number 9. Fantoma 2 from Z.O.E Dolores I. The original Fantoma LEVs are the Earth Force's main grunts and usually don't hold a candle to Bahram's orbital frames. But the Fantoma 2 seems to be an improvement, both in performance and in looks. When they first arrive on Mars, the Bahram leaders are surprised at how formidable the Fantoma 2 teams are, and in large numbers they can at least hold off the army of Raptors sent to attack the orbital elevator. I'm a big fan of how imposing it looks with the bulky upper body armor and the huge thrusters and fins on its back. Fantoma 2. It may be mostly cannon fodder, but damn it, it's gonna give the enemy's cannon fodder a run for their money and look good doing it. Number 8. Nate from the first Z.O.E game. It's red, it's the main villain mech of the game, and it's got a pretty sharp, fancy-looking design. I like the elaborately shaped head, the booster fin things on its back, and the armor on the shoulders and lower arms, although the melee weapons kinda bug me. The way they're colored and shaped makes them look a bit out of place compared to the rest of the frame. Instead of those stick things, I think it would have looked cooler and more appropriate with whips like this early design for Neftis. Or the kind of sword the Alternates had that was more smooth and flush with the armor it sprouted from. But as if in answer to that, it does adopt a more whip-like melee style in its damaged armless form called Zombie Nate. It's strong enough to go toe-to-toe with Jehuti, and even when it should be defeated, it just comes back in a more mangled, menacing form just to settle the score. Nate is immortal. Number 7. Vic Viper from Z.O.E the Second Runner. A LEV, but one that apparently uses Metatron like Orbital Frames do, and can fight on nearly equal terms with them. It transforms into a fighter mode and looks very sharp and unique in both modes. In fighter mode, if lasers and missiles aren't enough, it has those options, as they're called, that fly around with it and provide more firepower and defense. In humanoid mode, it uses a kick-ass attack called Gauntlet, the impact of which can break an enemy's shield and send them smashing against the nearest hard surface. It's also a little extra noteworthy for being piloted by Jehuti's former runner, Leo Stenbuck. He says, "It's the runner, not the frame, that makes the difference." That's true, however, Vic Viper is an awesome frame, so either way, don't let your guard down. Number 6. Neftis from Z.O.E the Second Runner. See, Nate is immortal. Even after Zombie Nate's defeat and Viola's death, this next evolution of that frame, piloted by an AI based on Viola, still obsessively hunts Je.O.E. As Dingo said, Neftis is like a vengeful ghost. Even after this frame is disabled, does that stop the AI? Nope. It just takes over another frame and resumes the battle. And even after this AI is finally deleted, Je.O.E. later encounters even more Neftises at Almon. The insane persistence of this thing alone is pretty awesome, but it's also a just plain badass upgrade of the Nate, especially with that ring on its back with the 6 fin things that can spin around the body like a big buzzsaw. It even seems to have a big-ass 360-degree barrier that can block or even redirect most of Je.O.E.'s attacks, forcing the player to instead use whatever means the environment provides to win. Neftis.
Just die, you bitch!
Number 5. Dolores, aka Isis, from Z.O.E. Dolores I. No, I don't hate that she's pink. No, I don't hate that she has a cuter, less imposing design than others. No, I don't hate the fact that she has the mind of a silly, naive young girl. Those are things I actually kind of like about her identity. I also really like this sort of giant robot Jekyll and Hyde thing they did with her. Usually she's gentle, innocent Dolores, but when things get too intense, her battle program takes over and she becomes the cold, ruthless, and much sharper-looking Isis. When Isis is in control, the massive power we're used to seeing with Orbital Frames is on display. Increased speed and strength, radiating sword arms, homing lasers, a kick-ass particle cannon sprouting from the chest. As much as her killer alter ego scares Dolores, Isis does have a way of unlocking helpful weapons and abilities she didn't know she had. But as I said, I do actually like Dolores' normal form too. It's cute, but it can still look pretty cool when it needs to. In fact, it's this Dolores, not Isis, that has the final showdown with Hator at the end of the series, and it's thanks to the teamwork and unusual family bond between James and this imperfect, unorthodox, sweet, compassionate AI that ultimately saved the day. Dolores. Don't let her appearance fool you. If it's for her newfound family, she can duke it out with the best of them. Number 4. Anubis, from the first Z.O.E. game, the second runner, and even a cameo in Dolores I. Probably a lot of people's number 1 pick, and for good reason. It's basically built up as the ultimate badass of Orbital Frames. It can zero shift, which basically means aiming its space compression ability at itself in order to teleport. So its speed alone is enough to overwhelm any enemy, but it's also dangerous at long distance, with a zigzaggy, web-like homing laser, and burst attack that can be very difficult to dodge. Ignoring the disappointing fact that Anubis is actually a lot slower than Je.O.E. when you try it out in versus mode, in the context of the story, it really does come across as quite dominating and downright untouchable in the first game. Nomen has so little to fear from enemies that he usually has the frame just floating in place with its arms crossed, like a boss, ready to just teleport behind anyone dumb enough to attack him. And do I even need to say anything about how awesome this thing looks? The jackal head, the sharp forearms, the tail, the reverse-jointed legs, the 6 wings, and the menacing black, brown, and red color scheme. It looks deliciously villainous, it's unmatched in speed and strength, it's piloted by a madman drunk with power, it's freaking Anubis. Number 3. Hator from Z.O.E. Dolores I. Orbital Frames in general have some pretty unusual features compared to most mecha. Pointy, footless legs, hands with 2 thumbs, those cockpits that are so easy to make fun of. But even among mechs like that, Hator really stands out with those big wing things connected to the lower legs, and smaller wing things sticking out the sides of the head. I don't know whose idea those were, but I surprisingly really like the way they look, especially with the crystal-like feather parts and how the large wings can create a big, charged-up particle cannon attack. Powerful weapons like that, and the ability to zero-shift just like Anubis and Je.O.E. make it one fearsome frame. Hator also embodies the creepy symbiotic Metatron entity that was originally part of Idolo. It continues to influence the pilot by taking his dead fiancé's form, thriving on his love for her and his desire to free Mars from Earth, twisting those motivations and driving him to try and wipe out everyone on Earth. and anyone else who gets in the way of his illusionary happily ever after with Dolly. Hator, unforgettable in design, dominating in combat, and just plain scary in concept. Number 2. Idolo from Z.O.E. Idolo. The very first orbital frame, and one of the best looking in my opinion. Once again, I'm a big fan of those crystal feather things, and I love the style of the armor. It's rougher, less colorful, and sort of skeletal looking compared to other lead frames like Z.O.E. and Dolores. Its overall look really gives off a sort of sinister, unnatural sense, which is appropriate as we discover more about the effects Metatron can have on a person. The more Radium pilots this frame, the more clear it becomes that something in its alien essence is alive. Does it have a malicious will entirely its own, or is it simply in its nature to assimilate with and twist the will of the man it's bonded to? Whether it's a symbiote or a parasite, Idolo seems to poison Radium's mind more and more as he revels in the frame's incredible power, eventually shattering his grip on reality when the person he loves most dies in his arms. While he's enjoying a comforting hallucination, Idolo goes on an all-out rampage, and even after it's been taken down, the entity living in its essence is resurrected when Hator is built from Idolo's remains. Like I said when I talked about Hator, this little devil on Radium's shoulder almost brings about the destruction of everyone on Earth. Idolo, one of the coolest and most frightening mechs I've ever seen. And my number 1 favorite Zone of the Enders mech is, say it with me everyone, you know what it is, Mosquito. Oh, of course it's not. It's freaking Z.O.E. from the first Z.O.E. game and the second runner. You should have seen the look on your face. What can I say about good old Z.O.E.? After playing the games countless times, watching and controlling this frame over and over, you'd think I might get a little tired of looking at it by now, right? Not even a little. It is a gorgeous design, with a nice color scheme in either game, and a ton of awesome weapons and special abilities. The burst attack, the homing laser, the simple but awesome sword, lots of sub-weapons to choose from, my favorites being Gauntlet, which I explained in the Vic Viper summary, Halberd, a big continuous energy beam, Wisp, an ability to grab enemies from long distances using the options normally stored as fins on Z.O.E.'s hips, Homing Missile, which is exactly what it sounds like but even cooler, and of course the huge-ass Vector Cannon. A weapon that fires a massive compressed space blast that takes a while to charge up but is really damn powerful. When it evolves into Z.O.E. version 2, it becomes the equal of Anubis, with the ability to zero shift, enhanced automatic shielding, and with the options detached floating around it and assisting with attacks. This is my favorite version to play as. Stronger and cooler than normal Z.O.E., but not as insanely overpowered as naked Z.O.E., its final form which can destroy enemies instantly even with its weakest attacks. After playing as this frame throughout 2 games, it's hard not to be really attached to both it and Ada, its battle AI that guides the pilot/player, and gradually learns to understand us flawed, irrational humans a little more, as artificially intelligent beings in science fiction often do. It's a beautiful design, it's incredibly fun to play as, and through all the trials and tribulations it even dethroned the seemingly unbeatable Anubis. The new ultimate orbital frame, and my number 1 favorite mech from Zone of the Enders. Thanks for watching, folks.